The NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Bet $100 right now and get $100 at WynnBET, or download the WynnBET app and start winning today. State restrictions apply. We're also brought to you by the DJ and Dance. Our March Madness Bankroll Contest is back. It's free to enter, and $1,000 in cash and prizes is up for grabs. Plus, we've got first half under bingo. Enter both contests on the SGPN app.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Coming to you live here on a Sunday night. It is the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. The bosses were pushing for a Sunday night live reaction show. They may not want one after tonight. It is a wrap-up of the Phoenix Raceway weekend. Cody, buddy, we're now fresh off of the heels of the Phoenix race. Initial reactions is what we're after. What are we after here? What are we feeling today?
Yeah, I guess everyone wanted to hear our reactions after these races. Rod, it's been 4 for 4. We're at the end of regulation. We have had the winning driver bet on in the lead at the end of regulation. Only one of those races we've cashed. So, man, it stings. These overtimes have just been killing us. Of course, the 1 week that didn't go to overtime in Auto Club, that's the one we cashed at. But yeah, it's like we've been nailing these guys to get there and win, and then all these damn late cautions, like it's almost, you can almost just set it to a timer. Somebody in the Discord said, man, it's almost like basketball where you just tune in for the last 2 minutes to see what actually happens. It's like, oh, they're killing us.
Well, so I made a comment too in the Discord, and if I tweeted it out too, if you go back and look through my Twitter, I just recently watched Cars 2 with my girls. We were watching it on Friday night after we had watched the Xfinity. We watched practice, we watched Ricky Bobby, and then we watched the Cars movie. And in that movie, right, in that World Grand Prix, the camera operator had a special laser that just exploded the all-in-all at just the right time to make a caution and to take out these cars. That's what I think is going on. All of a sudden, race control goes, they're getting too strung out. We need some more cautions. Why don't you go ahead and the 21 car's far enough back. Let's go ahead and blast the 21 car. Hit the 21 car. And then next thing you know, he spins out. And the guy with the button found his way back into the room and pushed the button, and we had a phantom caution. Cody, there was no need. Did you see debris fly out of that 21 car?
Yeah, I mean, at least it was a harder hit than Almirola had last week, I guess. But man, they're just so quick to it. And yeah, I mean, it's like it's the old Buffalo Wild Wings commercial, right, where the guys running on the football field and they pull out the button from behind the bar and click it, and the sprinkler head pops up and trips somebody. It's like, I think they might have one of those out there. And yeah, it just, man, it's every week we get these late cautions, and it just changes how everything was and how everything was going to be. And it sucks from an aspect of getting it right and then being wrong anyways.
Yeah. Rye, what's up, buddy? Yes, definitely a
Going
rough
on?
night. Rye Cape once again joining us in the chat. We love that. All right, let's just. I feel like we just sort of went straight to our grievances. We got people listening on the podcast that are like, "What the hell is this guy even talking about?" All right, so we just finished up Phoenix. Obviously, the United Rental Work United 500 from Phoenix. William Byron, your back-to-back winners, or your back-to-back winner in this race. He led and commanded the whole, pretty much the whole first stage, and then it was Kyle Larson that came out and dominated for much of the race. Then Kevin Harvick started to dominate late in the race. And then, of course, the cautions, and then like 2 or 3 is strung out in a row there toward the end of the race. And then William Byron in the overtime shootout, the 3-lap shootout, ended up claiming the win in this race. Derek Yoder, our buddy, Picks by Blaze on
Derek.
He says Harrison Burton had a Byron or Larson outright ticket, which is why he spun. Yeah, you're right. There's tons of debris. I was
In
so
my
pissed.
defense, I was watching it on mute at the restaurant while we were eating dinner with family after our basketball tournament today. So I didn't exactly see or hear all of the stuff at the end there, but I just knew it was going to happen, and no surprise.
Yeah. Well, no, and look, you were good to watch it on mute because I basically was going to throw stuff at the TV. Rory Picks in the chat saying Larson pole live and Scotty Scheffler, nice weekend.
Yes,
Yeah,
we did hit Larson on the pole. We gave that out on the live show Friday, and I did have Scotty Scheffler as well at 9-1 this weekend. So that was a nice little hit there, Rory.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, I mean, at least we salvaged something out of it, and our bets did not go completely out. But there were 2 quite disappointing things that happened. But let's just talk about the overall flow of the race first, Cody, because I want to just hit on the fact that this race was, I don't know, I don't want to say wasn't entertaining, because it was. Obviously, there was stuff to go for, but you had William Byron jump out huge to a lead. Then you had Larson jump out huge to a lead. The action happened basically from about 3rd place on in this, and there was a lot more action going on from 3rd place on than there was at the top. Does that keep you interested? Overall, what was your take?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I kind of expected a green flag race. I talked about that in the Discord before the race. Just there was no issues in practice. There was no issues in qualifying. Like, everybody just ran smooth laps. We got a ton of cautions yesterday in the Xfinity race, which we'll cover here in a little bit. And so it seemed like today was just going to be one of those caution-free days. And it was. I don't mind the racing when it's caution-free. I know sometimes it gets strung out a little bit and you get some follow the leader, but that's kind of how racing has been for a long time anyways. I guess we're lucky enough to have these late cautions to keep everything entertaining at the end, right? Because it's man, it just bit us again. But I felt like the racing throughout the day was pretty good, and there seemed to be enough storylines. Again, I was kind of in and out. We were at basketball this afternoon, so I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing. Of course, I'll go back and watch it this week and see what else I can learn from it. But kind of what we expected in a way was with the Larson thing. I mean, luckily we were on that early in the week. We got him at 9-1. That was going to feel like great value because this morning he was 3-1, 350, something like that. And so it was like, man, it really has, was looking good. Chevy is now 4 for 4 in these races. They've won all 4 races, dominated the last 3 that weren't super speedway races. And so obviously they've got an advantage, something we can talk about as well. The Hendrick cars also had a bunch of stuff confiscated this weekend and potential big fines and stuff coming there. But they obviously, the Chevys have it figured out. Hendrick Motorsports specifically. William Byron, welcome to the party. I expected Larson to jump out and grab that lead early and run away with it. And Byron hung there all day. I mean, he obviously grabbed that lead early and then got behind Larson, but stuck right there with him. And then you knew that his pit crew was gonna get him out there, up there. And that's what really screwed Harvick. And so I felt like the racing was good. It just it would have been even better if Larson or Harvick had just hung on to it.
Well, with all that talk of the downforce reduction, of being able to pass, and being able to keep in touch with everybody, yeah, like I said, in the middle of the pack, that felt exactly right. I mean, there was a lot of passing going on from about 3rd place on back to like 15th, and you saw guys like Bowman charge back up and get some top 10s. You saw Chase Briscoe start moving his way through the field. The only thing is that the leader took off. And when the leader took off, that was it. I mean, Harvick was up by about 3 seconds there before that one caution that bunched the field back up again. So, it's just a matter of the whole reason they changed the package came to fruition, except for the front. It's very hard to pass people in the front. Dylan O'Donnell in the chat saying Byron is keeping the 24 looking good. Yeah, I guess Jeff Gordon would love that thing to have some rainbow colors on it. But yeah, definitely William Byron not besmirching the 24. Let's talk through our bets like we normally do as well. And just sort of flow through that as we go through the race flow as well. Obviously, Kevin Harvick, another top 10 finish.
I mean, just the lock of all locks, right? That's 20 in a row now at Phoenix. Incredible. He was so close to getting to that 10 wins at one track list. They brought that list up at the end. Almost made me puke. What are you doing? We're jinxing it right after they talked about how he's finished every single race he's ever started there. I'm like, and Clint Boyer said, he's like, don't say that. What are you doing? But I mean, just the most automatic thing, right? It opened, I think it was minus 160 when we gave it out on the Discord, right when it opened. Took about 20 minutes to change, but even up until I think yesterday, you could get it still at minus 190. I went very heavy on that. That one was probably going to be the thing that made or break my day and kept me pretty much even. So I'll walk away with that. But man, what could have been as we get through these? It's what could have been, Rod.
What definitely could have been. And listen, I love Danica in the booth. I do. I think she's pretty good up there. But come on, man. You got to know that you can't sit there and say, oh, I'd love a late race caution. Shut up. No, man. Who cheers for a late race caution like that? Like, no.
She obviously, like Burton, had money on somebody besides Kevin Harvick. So,
well, no, because she was championing Reddick the whole day.
She was definitely live betting Reddick. I'm pretty sure. I know it's legal there in Arizona, so I'm pretty sure she was putting live bets because she just kept talking about Reddick like throughout the day. Like she was obsessed with. Like I didn't even listen to the whole race because I was going in and out with being on mute and listening and. Every time I turned it on, Danica was talking about Reddick. I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah, she definitely was all over Reddick. And I'm sure she was live betting him. Rye wanted to know what happened to Hamlin. Let me answer that question by the next two. Ready? So I had
what happened to both of these guys?
That's what I'm saying. I had Brad Keselowski as a top 10 car. Cody, will you please enlighten me on where Brad Keselowski was running the whole damn race?
Well, Rod, every single lap, he was in the top 10 the whole day. So I'm sure this one cashed, right?
Sure. No, he did not. You know why? Because he ended up finishing like back in 18.
What? He just, I mean, and there was some guys in the Discord that got some great value. I think he was at plus 300 at one point this week. And so guys were jumping all over that. And like, this just looked like the greatest bet. Like they talked about that during the race where he didn't run any green flag laps in the top 10 either race last season and spent the entire day in the top 10. And then you get into these overtime finish and nowhere to be found.
So that last restart, I watched the on-camera video of him and I listened to the audio and it sounded like he missed a shift or it didn't shift. So he felt like a brick. And that's what you see. You saw him start and then all of a sudden you just saw everybody start passing him because you heard the car miss something. You heard it just not fire off. And that was it. That's the difference between 10th place and 18th place. And he was in 6th, 7th place the entire time. Same type of thing happened to Hamlin, where Hamlin, Ryan
had Keselowski at plus 350 for the top 10. Oh, just heartbreak. I mean, it was the perfect bet, like so much value there. And he was a top 10 car all damn day long.
Yeah. And so with Hamlin, with Hamlin, it was a lot of the same thing. Actually, Hamlin was up in the top 10 all damn day as well. And we hit half of this where Blaney did finish in second place.
This was the opposite thing where the hell did Brian Blaney come from?
That's what we want to know. But yeah, Blaney finishes in second, but Hamlin and again, because they were so focused on the front of the pack, which obviously you got all the storylines up there, you're going to miss it. But Hamlin ended up getting up into he kind of forced Chastain up the track. And then they sort of touched.
Those guys always find each other, don't they?
Always the 11 and the 1, man. It's always the 11. And in fact, on his podcast, they had joked about him and Chastain getting into it, I think, didn't they?
He brought it up. Yep.
Yeah, it's like another Chastain job. And so the 11 and the 1, and really this time it felt like it was Denny who was in the wrong because Ross had no place to go. You watched the 11 drift up the track and get into the 1, and then Hamlin just dropped like a rock, and that was it. Like there was no top 10 finish for Hamlin. So both Brad and Denny, up until that very last caution, both had top 10 runs going. Both had them taken away by a silly little mistake.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney, man, I went heavy on the head-to-heads against him this week. Like, as much as he's been struggling and everything, it was like, and he was paired up with like all these big dogs, is like Larson, Kyle Busch, Denny Ham. I'm like, taking all these guys, the whole thing. It's just cash and all. I'm like, oh, Ryan Blaney, nowhere to be. He must be hanging out with Chase Briscoe and BJ McLeod back there. And then all of a sudden he finishes second and screws up all of them. Which shout out to Chase Briscoe, by the way, Derek. I know you're on here, so I will bring it up. He did have a solid finish. He ended up, he went up front, but he was running decent all day, finished in 7th place. So I guess we could take him off the milk carton for this week at least.
Well, so he had his way into the top 10 with, I'd say, about 20 laps to go, or something, maybe more than that. But I know that I was keeping a close eye on it because of one of my bets that we'll bring up later. But I was definitely keeping a close eye on him and where he was going. And he shot up. I mean, I give credit to the 14. He figured out a way to get around this track quickly, and, can't take anything away from him. But Cody, your next bet definitely hit.
Yeah. And I had William Byron over Chase Briscoe, not in question all day. Again, Briscoe ended up with a decent run, but William Byron, obviously one of the better cars here. He dominated early and then ran second all day and then ends up being there at the end to win this. So yeah, this one wasn't even close. It was minus 155, so juiced up a little bit, but even minus 155 isn't that crazy. And I felt like it was just very lopsided. And William Byron obviously is showing that he's going to need to be taken seriously going forward. So he's very, very much showed up the last 2 weeks. I mean, had the best car last week, ends up getting the overtime win. And then again this week, one of the 2 best cars out there with no question ends up in victory lane yet again. So going to have to start looking William Byron's way a little more.
You're going to have to start looking William Byron's way anymore. Sorry. That was unprofessional.
Rod's still salty.
I am way salty right now. Not salty enough to not take a break. We need to take a quick break real quick. And then when we come back, I'll continue to just pour salt all over everybody's wounds. But let's do that after the break. Let's tell you about WynnBET. It's the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET's now active in Massachusetts, among other states out there. Be on the lookout for the WynnBET Win Hour each hour, Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. During WynnBET's Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have a better odds on WynnBET, giving you a larger payout opportunity. And March Madness is here. So many ways to bet on the big dance. Sign up today. Receive a special offer. Bet $100, get $100. Limited, of course, to state availability. And for you DGens only, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you're going to get a free $1,000 credit. So much to choose from, and all you got to do is head over to WynnBET.com or download the WynnBET app. Salty. Offer subject to change, terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or somebody who knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. The DGen Dance, our March Madness bankroll contest, is back. It's free to enter, and $1,000 in cash and prizes is up for grabs. Plus, of course, we've got first half under bingo where you can win an SGPN gift card. Enter both contests on the SGPN app. All right, let's get back to this race. I will say, okay, my mood, while salty as it is right now, was sort of muted a little bit by the fact that I did get Brenner out of tonight. So had pancakes, bacon, hash browns for dinner. I'm flying high right now. We may have lost all these bets, but I had Brenner, so I'm happy.
Hey, that's about my favorite. I don't know if I've ever I don't know if I've ever heard it called Brenner.
What?
I like that. I mean, just breakfast for dinner, but I'm going to start calling him Brenner now. I have never even heard that one.
Comment section, please tell him that it's Brenner. Holy cow!
I love it. That's my favorite. Breakfast for dinner is my favorite thing. So yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, well then there we go. See, everybody's happier by Brenner. It's just the way it is. All right, so we talked about our Hamlin Blaney. My next bet was Eric Almirola over Bubba Wallace. 2 weeks in a row. I think I'm off Eric Almirola for good for the rest of the season, Cody. I'm placing myself in a permanent 10-car timeout.
Well, what even happened with his wheel just falling apart? I'm curious to see, and maybe Derek and Brian will get into this on the All Things Go podcast this week with him being over in the Stewart Haas shop. But his wheel just fell out of the thing. I don't even know how that happens or what even happened. So that was pretty crazy. He was running. He should have retired, Rory says in the chat. Good call, Rory. That Smithfield money was just too much for him. But yeah, I don't know. He wasn't running super great throughout the race, but I think he was doing okay. Bubba wasn't great here, which I think was kind of your angle here. And with Almirola's his history at short flat tracks, you expected him to do better. And then obviously the tire was kind of the nail in the tire for that bet. And and yeah, it just, with the 2-lap penalty, then after that, after the tire comes off again, and yeah.
Well, and so first of all, Almirola and Bubba, it was always Bubba ahead of Almirola for the most part. Almirola had a couple of laps there where he was ahead of Bubba, and then Bubba would find his way back around. So this bet probably wouldn't have cashed anyways. But I'm telling you right now, go and watch the Cars 2 movie, man. If you want conspiracy theory, this is where we get it from. They popped Eric Almirola's tire from the cameras and made his wheel fall off, and then they did it to the 21 car. They were like, oh my God, we've only had cautions in this in this race rather. Woo, man, heated. And we need to get this thing bunched back up again. Which car is not doing well that we can get off the track? So I don't know. It's just ridiculous. I'm so angry. But Eric Almirola did not cash his bet, by the way.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, and Derek did say they're going to get answers. Brian's going to get answers and let everybody know. So make sure you check out the All Things Go podcast. They're also having a conversation, and the JDK, he's always in the Discord chatting in there. He's confused as to who he got his picks from, but there's so many good like him. He said, maybe I'm confused. I listen to a lot of content throughout the week, and same, buddy. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, somebody made a really good point, but I can't remember which one it was.
He doesn't have his trusty notebook. Right?
Yeah. Rye Cape did say, we were talking about Bubba a minute ago, Bubba at Atlanta next week, super speedway racing again next week. We all know it's a shit show, but so much fun to bet on. Get your Corey LaJoy bets placed early before everybody and their brother jumps on him. I've been on him all last season, this season. This is the race we almost cashed him big last season. Well, I guess it was the fall Atlanta race, but the track anyways. So as soon as those Corey LaJoy bets are out there, get on them early. My next matchup, I had Kevin Harvick over Martin Truex Jr. Not even close all day. Truex, not really a factor throughout the day. I don't really remember even seeing him up in the top 10 at all. I know at one point he was running back with Ty Gibbs, which is not a great thing, not a great place to be generally. He finished as 17th, so obviously Harvick leading there at the end and then ends up in the 5th position. So at -1, this was -114 either way. But yeah, that was an easy one. Also, I had Eric Almirola top 10 +215. We just touched on that. So again, a +215. I feel like it was a decent bet, but yeah.
And the Truex thing, yeah, he definitely did not have the speed that he wanted. He ended up finishing in 17th place, but I think that was even a generous position for him. He was on the lead lap. I believe he was on the lead lap. Very few of those cars, though, by the end of that were actually on the lead lap. That's how dominant the leaders were at one point, where they're putting the 20th place car, down a lap, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and fun fact too, since you brought that up, there was 33 lead lap finishers in Saturday's Xfinity race, the most ever in an Xfinity Series race at a track less than 2.5 miles in length. So basically the super speedways. That's from Joseph Strigley over at TobyChristie.com. But that's great. 33 guys finished on the lead lap in the Xfinity race. Now there was a lot of cautions, so that helps. Obviously, it doesn't get them strung out, gets a lot of lucky dogs and stuff. But still, even with the cautions, not that many guys wrecked out. And I thought that was an impressive statistic.
Well, I do too. Rory says he just wants to look and sound as good as me. Hey, listen,
Same, Rory. Same.
when you can't pick winners, you got to compensate somehow. And I guess that's how I compensate. As far as the sounding good part, still don't know. I'm not sold on the looking good part. All right. So my next pick was Bowman over Briscoe. This is the one that I was looking at the most because I was watching Briscoe move up the charts and it was starting to piss me off because I was like, where did you find the speed? Chase Briscoe. Bowman, a solid top 10 car for basically the entire day. I mean, he was inching up close, and then over the last few laps, he found his way into the top 10. He finished 9th place inside the top 10. Hey, hats off to all of the Hendrick Motorsports cars, all 4.
Josh
in the top
Berry.
10.
Yes. I mean, look at that. You give him a week to prepare. You give him time on the simulator. You give him a chance to, know ahead of time and not just throwing in there last second. He's a very competent driver. Dale Jr. has been high on this guy for a long time. Dale Jr. spent some of his own money to get Josh Berry in a ride before they could get some sponsorship up in the Xfinity Series, and he has said multiple times he thinks Berry could be a Cup Series champion. He's been linked a lot of times too. If Junior does come into the Cup Series, maybe Berry would be his driver, but obviously, in only his second start in the next gen car, it's one of the better cars out there. Obviously, look at his teammates running 1-2 all day, of course. But a great finish by Josh Berry in that number 9 car, filling in for Chase Elliott.
Yep, hats off to him. I don't know what his top 10 odds were, but I want to see somebody's ticket if they took it. That's a pretty nice.
I'm sure they were pretty deep. Probably not too crazy because he is in a Hendrick car, but after his performance last week, I'm sure they were juiced up a little bit.
Yep. All right. I had Chevy as the winning manufacturer. Thank God I salvaged something out of that. I mean, I know it was only plus 140, but still, I mean, remember I was going to pick Ford. So, and I was almost looking pretty good with Kevin Harvick doing that too. That would have been a pretty nice little hit, but yeah, Chevy plus 140, that one hit. So, okay. Yay. Yay.
Hey, we'll take anything we can get. That was a question the JDK who's in the chat here. He had asked that on Twitter. He said, do we think that Chevy has figured something out that other manufacturers just haven't? Do we think that next year NASCAR will implement changes to get all the manufacturers on a more level playing field? So I think that Chevy obviously has the advantage early this season, yes. But we've seen this before where somebody starts the season really good, somebody starts the season really bad, and things get better, things change. Toyota last season started the year horrible. The first stretch of the season, they were just bad week in and week out. That's when we were fading Denny Hamlin every week and just raking in the money. Obviously, they got things fixed later on and had a lot of success later in the season. So, yes, it's Chevy for now, but I wouldn't, I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think that, and Ford seems to be the farthest off, but Toyota's not having a lot of success either. I think that they will catch up as we continue to go through the season. And then there's NASCAR implementing changes. I think since we're still in this new car, they likely will continue to change things. I know they did confiscate those. What did they confiscate from the Hendrick cars?
I told you they're checking it for performance enhancers, man. They're checking that fuel for rocket fuel.
Yes, so they it's basically the frame, the ridged plates that go on the front of the car. I don't have the name right in front of me here, but they did confiscate those from all 4 Hendrick cars and from the hood louvers, I guess is what that's called. But they did confiscate it from all 4 Hendrick cars and the Justin Haley Collard car. So there is potential for this to be up to 100-point fine for both the driver and the owner points, a reduction of 10 playoff points, and 4 race suspensions for the crew chiefs. So if NASCAR decides, and I don't know how they could go about that, and maybe they could appeal them differently at different times. I don't know. But you could potentially have all 400 crew chiefs suspended, and they're all losing 100 points in the regular season standings. Then the 10 playoff points could be huge going into that's William Byron that takes away his 2 wins basically and puts the other guys in a 2-win hole already. So going to be interesting to see how that plays out and if that is the case. But basically that's the same rule that happened to Brad Keselowski's team last season where that's one of those parts that they're not allowed to tamper with. Like, however it comes manufactured, they're allowed to paint it or decal it to be part of the paint scheme and look normal on there, but not allowed to make any changes to it. And apparently NASCAR thought there was changes made to it, so they took them out and went on to inspect them. That was before qualifying. Chevy obviously looked fine in qualifying with Kyle Larson, especially, and then it didn't obviously affect them in the race either. But those potential penalties are looming out there and could put a little bit of a hurt on the Chevy camp from the Hendrick and Justin Haley aspect of things.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? That's what they say. Although I will
100%.
say, I was listening to Stay Green, and Brian Murphy was on there, Derek's pal, and they were talking about the millimeter difference between the aero packages in even the decals, right? I mean, the decals are a millimeter too thick, and we're talking a decreased production in aero. So, yeah, I mean,
that's the Dale Earnhardt Jr. thing where he shared that camera they had on there, and they had a bunch of Budweiser stickers stacked on top of each other just to raise it up a little bit. I think he said there was like 18 of them, gave them an extra quarter inch, half inch, whatever. And it just that little tiniest advantage. And they're always looking for that. And obviously Chevy's and Hendrick specifically have found some. That one maybe didn't help them as much as they had thought, but could hurt them a little bit if these penalties do hold up.
Yep. And even chapstick too. Chapstick will do a little bit of wonders to that car. Not anymore though, but all right. So you had some top Ford bets as well to go on top.
And now, so I had Brad 12-1, Eric Almirola at 14-1, Zane Smith at 80-1. The Brad one was looking decent, right? He was kind of ahead of Harvick all day. It looked like it was going to be either him or Harvick. That man, speaking of Ford again, we talked about this, but Blaney jumped up there at the end, but throughout the race, Ford was looking like they were struggling. Joey Logano absolutely hated his car. He recovered for a solid 11th place. Shout out to Ryan Preece even being up in 12th, but these guys struggled kind of throughout the day. The Zane Smith thing, I was way off on that. He ends up 38th. Just did not have a great run today, but Keselowski easily could have cashed that at 12-1. We already talked about Almirola. Didn't show up as we thought he would. But yeah, there was a good period of time there where it looked like Keselowski maybe could easily get that. And at 12-1, I feel like it was a good bet. It didn't quite work out. Obviously, Harvick takes that spot, no, not even, because Blaney ended up second. So yep. Blaney sneaks in there again like his teammate Cindric did last week and snags that top Ford spot. But definitely throughout the race, Penske looked to be struggling big time. And that's going to be something to keep watching going forward. With not only is Ford struggling, but Penske obviously is the main Ford team, the top Ford team. And they're struggling pretty big time to start this season so far.
To start the season, but they still had 3 cars inside of the top 10. So I'm right. Wondering how much the struggle.
Well, it ends up that way. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I struggle, but it doesn't matter how you run, right? It matters how you finish. So
it is true.
If you're there at the end through all the NASCAR induced chaos, then we're going to be there at the end. All right, and then of course I had Larson to win at 9-1, and I gave the long shot of Martin Truex Jr. at 10-1. Larson, obviously, don't even have to be we don't have to rehash that, even though, I love hash and I love the hash browns that I just had. We don't need to rehash Larson. And Truex, there's nothing there. That was a nothing burger.
Yeah, that's why I don't bet on Truex outright still at this point. But no, the Larson call, I mean, you look like a genius. And man, I was so mad when you stole this one from me, and it ended up being the right call, right? He had the best car all day. And then even we gave this out early in the week. I know there's a lot of people out there talking about we got to wait till practice. We got to wait till qualifying. And that is fine for some bets. And there's some things you learn there for sure. But value like this, you had to get in on it early. We did give him out, I think it was plus 650 on the live Friday for the poll bet. So hopefully you had that. I saw quite a few guys in the Discord that did. So we at least cashed that one. But yeah, 9-1 you looked like a genius because those odds were cut into a third of that at 3-1 this morning is what I saw before the race. So yeah, great call by you. Obviously it didn't quite work out in the end, but you were definitely on track. And as good as he's been running, hopefully that will get the books fooled and to get him in some good matchups, head-to-head matchups next week, since it's a super speedway and we can fade him yet again. I had Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, and Bubba Wallace. Bunch of big swings and big misses from me. We already kind of talked about a couple of these guys. Bubba just didn't really have it today. Struggled. I just at 35-1, I felt like might be some value there with as well as he'd been running to start the season. Bowman, again, his track history here has not been great at all. But the Hendrick speed you couldn't look past with him being, again, all the way down at 20-1 after a great run last week. He ends up in ninth place, so, whatever. But he wasn't up there throughout the day. I don't think he got stage points in either stage. And just, he kind of a good finish for him compared to what he's had there. But I was on it with the Hendrick speed again. I just picked the wrong Hendrick car again. And then Kyle Busch, he ends up rebounding for an 8th place finish, which is great after 2 penalties on the same stop. He had, what was it? Was he speeding and the wheel come off?
The wheel, it was an uncontrolled wheel off into the
uncontrolled tire. Yep. So recovered from that and finished 8th. And they talked at one point, he was one of the only guys that seemed to be able to pass easily during the race. So, but yeah, he wasn't quite as good as I had maybe hoped. But obviously, yeah, your call with Kyle Larson is where it was, because that was obviously the correct call. Just didn't quite work out.
No, and it's to me, it's frustrating because even when he did get chased down, and he said it in his interview afterwards, he said, well, we got helped by one, and then we kind of got screwed by the second. So he knows that he lived by the caution and he died by the caution. So it was just a matter of, which side of it are you going to be on? And I don't know. Look, I'm angry. I'm not angry because of the way the race finished. I'm angry because of the way the race finished. Like, I'm angry because we can't now consider just a nice green flag ending. There's always got to be something in those last 10 laps that we've got to look out for. So when we go to start handicapping this, you can't predict those last 10 laps like that. You can't. And if you say you can, then good on you. I'll step away and let you just have the rest of the floor, because I personally could not have predicted that Harrison Burton was going to spin out with 10 laps to go, bunch the field back up, and then Kyle Larson was going to get pinched and not be able to catch back up again. I couldn't.
Yeah, well, and it almost worked in our favor, because obviously Kevin Harvick would look like he was going to win that race until the first spin. And I can't remember who spun first and who spun second, but and then we got the first restart, which was still in regular time, and it would have worked out perfectly because Larson was ahead. And then obviously it goes to overtime. But I guess we just have to start expecting things to happen. Maybe they do have that Buffalo Wild Wings button. Maybe there's a sniper up on the roof that's taking out tires. I don't know. But it sucks when that stuff late costs you on some of this.
We talked about prepping for chaos, right, in the episode before, but Jesus, man, you have to have like a fallout shelter stocked with 4 years worth of food to prep for that kind of stuff. So it's such a difficult thing to try to handicap nowadays. We're going to keep doing it though.
That's right. Coming back next week. Super Speedway gives us an opportunity to hit Corey LaJoie, hopefully like 100, 150-1. And a few other things. A couple other quick questions that we got to. Catfish Dilly in the Discord. He asked, when we're picking outright winner for the races, how many do you typically pick? For me, and they kind of talked about this going back and forth, him and JDK later, but it depends a lot on the odds, right? Because you don't want to lay a bunch on the top couple favorites, then you're not really going to get a return if you hit one, right? So like this week, I did have the Bowman and the Bubba long shots, sprinkled a little bit on those. I don't even usually do a full unit on those, just a partial unit on the longer shots. And then I went pretty good on Larson at the 9-1 because I felt really good about that. I took the Kyle Busch as well. So I kind of ended up with 4 this week, but it'll change week to week. We go to the super speedways like next week, I'll probably end up with 6 outrights, just because you can get so many guys at such longer odds that have a real chance to win. And so I feel like if you stretch it out a little more, spread it out, and you get lucky enough to hit one of those, it's going to end up being a good day.
Yeah, I don't feel like, and for me, I don't stretch out units a whole very thin, because again, then you start getting into just diminishing returns if you even do hit. So normally it's like 3, at most that I'll try, because again, I don't want to take 2 at the shorter odds and then throw out a long shot that's, out there. But yeah, I don't necessarily like to. I will say, JDK, we're going to get to your question after the break because we are going to break down the Xfinity race. It's not going to be that long because that race pretty much pissed me off on Saturday night pretty good. So we won't take too long. But just before we get to the Xfinity race, Cody, any last takeaways from Phoenix, from the Cup racing part of it? Again, we only did the Cup race first because it was still fresh in our minds. It just happened. So we have the most to talk about on that. But anything else you want to get off your chest before we go to the Xfinity race?
Yeah, I mean, not really. It was another sold out race. So there's been quite a few of those to start the season. I think that's 4 or 5 races in a row that Phoenix has sold out. So props to them. Yeah, I don't have any other comments on we were so close on some of that stuff. And it didn't quite pay off.
Well, like Thumper says, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Derek, thanks for joining us. I know you're going to bounce and edit your pod. Cannot wait to hear that one. Everybody go as soon as you're done listening to this and find Derek Yoder's pod. I think All Things Go is what we're talking about this one, right, Derek? Or are we talking about?
No, that'd be the NASCAR betting preview show is what it's called. Yep. So he usually just puts out a quick little recap show. Always enjoy listening to that Sunday night or Monday morning. So definitely check that out. Derek does it by himself, which props to you. That's I don't know. I'd be good enough to just talk to myself, but he does it flawlessly. It's always a great show. So definitely check that out.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Just follow him on Twitter. Then you'll know at Picks by Blaze. You'll be able to follow all of his work. Like I said, as soon as you're done with us. All right, let's take a break. Come back. We'll recap the Xfinity race and talk about it, I guess. We'll vent some more. We'll come back after this. We're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy's heating up for March Madness. College Pick'em is a great way to get in the action, especially if your bracket is busted after day one, like mine usually is. Mine's already busted. I haven't even picked anybody yet, but I'll tell you, it's busted already. Plus, Underdog Fantasy has your favorite college basketball player props. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. For those of you out there right now joining us on YouTube Live, on Twitter even, but on YouTube for the most part, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us and watching us and interacting with us. I got to tell you right now, it injects new life to the show to be able to have you guys in here hanging with us. So do yourselves a favor, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, ring the bell, Christopher Bell, whatever you got to do to get alerted when we go live like today and just anytime we put out content in general. Like I said, I always feel uncomfortable doing this, but we love you. Keep listening, keep watching, and stick with us. We got great things coming for you in the near future. I don't know that I'll ever feel comfortable with that. Just to put that out there. All right.
Well, Dylan says you do great, so shout out to Dylan.
Thank you.
And you're the best, Rob.
Oh, stop. Keep going. All right. Speaking off, we had the Xfinity race, and I literally just closed the tab on that one because I got so pissed off that I had to do this that I closed it anyways. But yeah, there's an Xfinity race, the United Rentals 200, which was 200 laps around the track. And Cody, man, again, I think,
how about the top 5 in this? Like, I could have given you the top 5 finishers in this race probably 100 times, and I don't know that I would have come up with this combination, Rod. Sammy
there was
Smith
a lot of folks on
race.
Sammy Smith. That's what I was going to say. There's a lot of folks on Sammy Smith.
Ryan Truex, Sheldon Creed, Riley Herbst, Chandler Smith. I mean, Kyle Busch was in this race. You've got the other heavy hitters, some of the bigger names, and that ends up being your top 5. Obviously, there was some chaos in this race. Before we get too far into the Xfinity, there was the ARCA Series race this weekend at Phoenix as well. Tyler Reef won that. 15 years old, Rod. 15 years old, and he won his first ARCA Menard Series race at Phoenix this weekend. Not what I was doing at 15.
No, not even close. I think what I was doing at 15 was I was driving. I was backing into safflower fields in a Willie Jeep is what I was doing.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
impressive, man. It was and I say that to say this, right? So then we go on and Sammy Smith wins on Saturday and becomes the 4th youngest driver to ever win in the Xfinity Series. Check out this list. This is a pretty decent list to be a part of. Joey Logano at 18 years, 0 months, 21 days. Chase Elliott, 18 years, 4 months, 7 days. Ty Gibbs, 18 years, 4 months, 16 days. Then it's Sammy Smith, 18 years, 9 months, 7 days. And then Casey Atwood's 5th on that list. He had a decent Cup career. But those other 3 guys, Logano, Elliott, and Gibbs, pretty solid list to be a part of there.
Yeah, I joked that on Monday he's got a pop quiz in bio he's got to get back to. So he's got to make sure he gets back to school.
How hard does that have to be to go back to high school after you win an Xfinity Series race on? It's like, then you're like, I got to go take this dumb class now? Like, I would not be interested at all in that.
I only can imagine like what it's like to just go back to school and basically, maybe, I don't know, maybe people know him there, maybe they don't, but like if the people that don't know him and he's just sitting there in class, like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh man, I hung out with my buddies, blah, blah, blah. I went to this. What'd you do? Oh, I went out and won an Xfinity race here in NASCAR and got tons of television time.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
Nothing much, by the way.
Yeah, not
all right, so yes, Sammy Smith wins this race. You talked about it. Ryan Truex comes in 2nd. Sheldon Creed comes in 3rd, which is sort of exactly where one of our first bet win on the day was Sheldon Creed over Ryan Truex. You notice the order in which I read those names. Ryan Truex was in 2nd. Sheldon Creed came in 3rd. I am livid, and I mean livid. Sheldon Creed above Ryan Truex all day long, guys. And then Sheldon Creed does Sheldon Creed things and loses it. But he drove his way back up to 3rd, which was fantastic. Except that Ryan Truex got his way to 2nd. So this bet did not cash. Cody.
Yeah, I mean, it was close, obviously. And yeah, Creed, I mean, 2nd in stage 1. He ends up being 10th in stage 2. But Truex, again, was kind of nowhere to be found in either stage. Then all of a sudden he shows up. Yeah, bad beat on this one by the one spot. Kind of sucks. I had Josh Berry over Cold Custard. Looked early like maybe I should be regretting my take on Cole Custer and not, backing off a little bit, but ends up being the different week, same story. Looks good early and then just faded. And I mean, he ended up 6th in stage 1 and then he kind of fell back. You never heard from him again and this was after he started on the pole. You kind of expected him to jump out early, take that lead. Didn't really do much of that. Ends up in 12th place and wasn't really much in the conversation the rest of the day. Josh Berry spun, I think he actually just spun again. He spun about 8 times in that race, and he ended up recovering and finishing 8th somehow. So props to Berry. A good solid weekend for him with top 10 in both races. But yeah, he did cash this one at minus 110.
Yeah, I mean, again, this was one that we were holding on for dear life with it at a couple of points, but good call on you. All right, my next pick was Brandon Jones.
This was our head-to-head, Rod, where we were on opposite sides.
Yeah, so Brandon Jones did not finish ahead of Sammy Smith. Cody, where did Sammy Smith finish?
Let me scroll up all the way in first, Rod. I didn't have that part pegged. I knew I couldn't trust Brandon Jones, and we talked about this. This was, which one of these guys is going to come out and finally make a good finish out of a decent day, right? And it seemed like Jones had just struggled more throughout the days than Smith had. Smith has been fast the first couple of races of the season, so not too much of a shock to see him win. We didn't bet on him, but it's not a huge shock to see him win. So I just felt like he was the more trustworthy, as much as I hate to say it, because I love Brandon Jones, love betting on him. But it did not. Again, Brandon Jones just on the struggle bus early this season with the JRM cars. What is up with JRM cars wrecking JRM cars, by the way? Like,
I don't know.
Hey,
I saw that too. And do
it
they
seems
have
like every
week?
Dale Jr.'s addressed it on his podcast, and like he doesn't want them to wreck each other, but he doesn't want them to not race either. But man, it seems like every time you look up, there's a JRM car dumping another JRM car. It's like, guys, help each other out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. I was like, I don't know if there's like in the garage where they've got a bounty sheet on each other and it's like how many times we could take each other out. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like they play very nicely together. And it doesn't matter who's in those cars. It really is just like, if it doesn't matter who you are. you're just going to get taken out by a teammate. And that's ridiculous. So, all right. Well, my next one that actually did hit was a nice little hit, by the way. Riley Herbst as a top 5 car. This was at 4-1. I remember you kind of gave a little snarl and you're like, okay, well, man, this is fine.
Not this one. It was the next one I gave.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I love betting on Herbst.
Yeah. No, the Herbst. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Herbst, right? Yeah. But Riley Herbst is a top 5 car. That worked out for us. Me and Sheldon Creed are going to have words. I want to have a beer with you, Sheldon Creed. Like this is my new call to arms. I want to have a beer with Sheldon Creed, because not only did he ruin the Truex bet, but he also ended up ruining Herbst as a top 3 car, which would have been 8-1. And that would have been a better day for both of us. We could hit a top 3 and a top 5 and the same guy. But no, Herbst finishes in 4th because Creed finishes in 3rd after that crazy finish.
Yeah, this would have been so nice to double up on the plus 400 and the plus 800. Luckily, the plus 400 does come through, but I know JDK asked this question a few minutes ago. Will Herbst ever win? Seems like he just loves top 10s, and we've talked about that before. Like, the guy is a top 10 machine. Like, every week he's in the top 10. Every week he's fairly solid. But you never see him dominate. You never see him win. He never leads a ton of laps. I don't know why that is. I mean, we've kind of questioned before why he still has that ride other than for sponsorship reasons, because he doesn't seem to be able to take that equipment to where it should go. Now, maybe it's not as good of equipment as we thought with the Stewart-Haas camp, I guess, with Custer struggling early. So maybe he's doing the best with what he can. I don't know. You got to think a Riley Herbst win is coming eventually. But even a guy like Daniel Hemrick in that Gibbs car for a couple years there, he didn't ever really like break through and get a bunch of wins. Like, he won that one championship race. I think it was overtime where he and they bumped each other coming to the line. He wins the championship. That's the only race he ever won, like, in elite equipment. Whereas you got guys like Ty Gibbs and Sammy Smith jump in and win on like their 1st and 5th starts in these cars. And it's like, man, I don't know. But yeah, Herbst is so reliable for top. I wish to give us Xfinity top 10s to bet on, because you just bet Riley Herbst every week. It's like betting Kevin Harvick to get a top 10. But he just can't ever seem to get over the hump. And you got to think maybe eventually he gets there. Maybe he fuel mileages his way in, or strategy call or something. But to see him just go out and dominate a race or actually go out and race his way to a win, I don't know if we're going to see that. He doesn't seem like the type of driver that can do it. And yeah, JDK just said in the chat, he seems like he just doesn't know how to push. And maybe that's it. He's not aggressive. He's just that kid that's out there that's, oh, hey, I'm pretty decent. I'll just kind of hang out here and, do good. And I don't need to beat everybody else. They can win. That's fine. I don't know.
Hey, sometimes you just got to feel comfortable with your lot in life and just know where you belong, right? I'm just kidding.
Yep. But hey, he still cashed the top 5 at plus 400, so we'll take that. I had Justin Allgaier, top 3, plus 100. Best bet of the weekend, Rod. Dominates this race, jumps out to the lead early, wins stage 1, wins stage 2. He's just going for it. Never mind. Yeah. This man, why do these I know why they do it, but why do they do it, Rod? He's racing for stage points, doesn't pit when he should. I know he got the 2 playoff points. That's great. That's good. That's wonderful. But then he gets mired back in the muck, gets caught up in it, shoved into the wall by an accident that, guess what, a JRM car started and ends up taking him out. He gets smashed into the wall, finishes 36th. Had the best car on the day. I mean, he was fast. He looked good. He's always good at Phoenix. This was looking like a joke. Why was this plus 100? Should have easily cashed. Then he gets caught up in it because of the strategy call. I get why they do it. Those 2 playoff points could be the difference in getting him to the championship race, but it sucks.
Yeah, no, it's the worst. And especially when we had Allgaier in a couple of different places that we could have had a much better day than we did. It was looking great. It was looking swell. And then it all got taken away from us. A lot like this next one, where again, you gave me the side eye at Hemrick as a top 5 car at 5-1, but he finished both stages inside the top 5. He did end up with a 10th place finish after that mayhem, but I'm telling you, that bet was looking solid all day long, Cody.
Guess where he ended up, though, Rod? I hope you saw my comment in the Discord, because they showed him on TV at one point. He was in 13th place. He was making a pass for that 12th place spot where he's always hanging out. Ends up getting up to 10th. Solid day for Daniel Hemrick. That's 2 spots above his average of 12th. Nowhere near the top 5, Rob.
But he was there at the end of stage 1 and the end of stage 2.
Never there at the end of the race.
No.
He doesn't know how to do it.
I thought for sure I had ammunition on you this week, and that did not happen. So.
I had Sam Mayer for a top 5. Figures the 1 week I finally bet on Sam Mayer, he doesn't really show up. Again, he just he's been so fast throughout these races. I mean, 8th in stage 1, 7th in stage 2. I think he was kind of running up there towards the end, but got shuffled back, ends up with an 11th place finish. So not really super close to cashing this top 5. He's had the speed. We've seen JRM cars be good here, especially with Justin Allgaier. So I thought that maybe we would get Sam Mayer to be in the top 5, but wasn't to be this week.
Hey, once again, I mean, Sam Mayer was within the vicinity in both stages. He was 7th place in stage 2, yeah, and 8th place in stage 1. So not too far off of the top 5. That was looking pretty good for the most part. I too had a Sam Mayer bet. I had him to win Group A. Cody, do you have your magic notebook down where we've got where
I have my magic notebook right here. Good old pen and paper.
Who was it?
Well, we'll just start at the top and stop there because it was Sammy Smith.
Yep, we're done.
Was in the group. Brandon Jones, he beat him. Sheldon Creed
did not beat him.
Austin Hill did not beat him, and Daniel Hemrick, which he didn't beat him either. So
Sam Mayer finished last in this group.
Well, except for Brandon Jones, so he beat him.
Oh yeah, well, I meant to bet on him to finish second to last.
Yeah, that would have been the better way to do that. But
I'm sorry.
This group ended up being more loaded than you would have thought. I mean, again, Sammy Smith, inconsistent finishes, right? And Sheldon Creed, inconsistent finishes. Austin Hill, we're going to talk about him in a minute. He ended up having a great day. The finish was 7th, so not super great. And Daniel Hemrick, I mean, you knew he was going to be back in 12th. So even if Sam Mayer finished 11th, it should have been fine.
You're funny. All right. You had the winning car number, but not.
Yeah. Nope, I didn't. I had winning car number under 9.5. Yeah. No, I mean, there's only 2 guys in the top 10 underneath 9.5. Again, this race just was full of surprises, but I give that out. Then Cole Custer qualifies on the pole. You're like, okay. Then Justin Allgaier is dominating the race. Even Sheldon Creed looked pretty good. All right, we got some life here, and it just did not work out. The over on this was juiced up a lot. Obviously, had Kyle Busch over that number, and then obviously all these other guys that we didn't see finishing this good over that number. But I felt like there was some value there at plus money, and that just didn't quite work out.
Nope, unfortunately, it did not. As did not my winner, which was John Hunter Nemechek. He led 19 laps in this race, looked like a very fast car, could not get it done when I needed him to do it most. But I mean, look, John Hunter had his problems, but he kept charging back. He finished in 6th place. So not a bad day overall for John Hunter, considering all the mayhem he went through to get there. But man, he looked like he did the thing where he jumped out to a lead and then just took off. Of course, he got chased down later on, but it's a matter of he got in the lead and he kept it there for a good long while. He actually kept it for 19 laps from lap 55 to lap 73 before surrendering it to Austin Hill. But yeah, I mean, it was just so frustrating to have that.
Yeah. Again, sucks. Have a great night, Rory. Go enjoy your Busch lattes. I had Justin Allgaier plus 500. He, again, dominated the race early and then got caught up in that wreck late. Chandler Smith plus 1,200. How about him and Kyle Busch getting into it on the last lap there? Chandler Smith comes out of it better and ends up in 5th, but he wasn't really a threat to win all day, unfortunately. And then Austin Hill at 20-1. Again, he led a good chunk of this race. Ends up finishing in 7th, so the result wasn't necessarily there, but he had a great day and was consistently running up front. There were definitely times where I thought Austin Hill, I mean, we could be talking about him winning 3 of the first 4 races of the season. These RCR cars being just super for real, and they are for real. I mean, Sheldon Creed ends up finishing 3rd. Austin slid back to 7th, but they were both up there throughout the day. I think Austin Hill, he did finish 2nd in stage 2. I think he had ended up pitting in stage 1 or something, but at the end there, but finished 2nd in stage 2. So he was up there and then continued to be up there throughout the race. Again, at 20-1 just ridiculous. Now we're going back to super speedway next week. Going to be hard not to bet on Austin Hill because depending on where they put his odds at, he's really fucking good at super speedways. So, yeah, but if they keep disrespecting him on non-super speedway tracks at this, anything probably north of 15-1, he's just going to be an autoplay every week because, again, even if he doesn't have the best car, he finds a way to put himself in position to be there, and he can get these wins late in these races.
Yeah, again, I was about to just say, well, okay, Cody, you are the Austin Hill whisperer for as much as I've been other whisperers. You definitely are on him, and I was going to cede the floor to you for now on anytime we talk about Austin Hill because, like I said, I wasn't sold, and maybe I'm going to have to start changing my tune on him as we go forward because he is very fast, and he was looking really good in that race.
Yeah, he's quickly making a case that he should maybe be a Cup driver sooner rather than later, I think.
Well, we'll definitely see about that. All right. Well, look, that was Phoenix in a nutshell, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the live aspect of this. I know I kind of did, actually. I liked being able to come on and be cathartic about a rough go.
These will be a lot more fun when we win a bunch of money, Rod.
Yes, that I was going to say.
It's going to be like a big party atmosphere in here.
Yeah. Well, if we would have cashed some more tickets this weekend, then it would have been a lot better off. But we'll get there. Again, we weren't that far off this week.
Yeah. Again, 4 for 4 at the end of regulation, having the guys that were leading these races. Like that's gonna turn out in our favor sooner rather than later. And when Corey LaJoie wins this weekend, it's gonna be a real party.
Yep. Oh, you and your.
I ordered my Corey LaJoie hat this week, Rod. Should be here in the next day or two. So keep an eye on the YouTube channel because as soon as I get it, I will be wearing it for our shows this week. It's leading up to Atlanta.
Too bad that we can't get merch that has Corey LaJoie on it, but
we'll
work on it, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, let's put a pin in this one and go ahead and close up shop for the evening. If you're listening to this on Monday morning, hey, what are you doing? Come catch us live next time. But
also happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday to you. Very early episode for you, maybe on your commute to work in the morning as you get to where you're going. You didn't expect it, but it's there. So happy Monday to you. Started off right.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell. Might not do this every Sunday night, but we're going to try and do it as much as we can. Jump on, get the fresh, raw reactions to these races. And we went live on Friday, took questions. You never know when we'll go live. So we're keeping that a mystery. That's why you got to hit the bell and then you'll know.
Anybody can tell you their schedule. We want you to be the real fans and know when we go live. So
exactly.
And again, thank you to all of you that have joined us in this chat. So much fun. Just a blast to be with you guys. Cody, why don't you let everybody know where they can follow you on social media so they can just keep talking to you after this?
Yep. Follow me on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb. Feel free to hit me up over there. Join the Discord. Man, conversations just keep getting crazier in there every week. So fun time. Lots of guys pointing out stuff that they're on and hitting bets together. It's a good time. So get over there.
Love it too. Yep. Keep the conversation rolling in that Discord. Now that we're on YouTube, I want to give a big shout out again to the folks that have supplied our theme music, and they are Iconoclast, a fantastic band that I met through my Canadian football contacts. They've been a proud supporter of everything I do, and this song is on Spotify as well. Iconoclast, I Run. Find their entire library. Such good stuff over there. Support them, support us. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, whether it's in between media, whatever it is, we're there. Coming back to you with another episode on Tuesday. So enjoy this one on Monday. We'll come back on Tuesday with more of the show. Till next time, let's go racing. I hate Phoenix, and let it ride.
Another piece of